Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Tuesday, the 7th of April. This is the first full week of Holy Week, or sort of Easter week. So I'm glad to see you, and I hope you're having a great day. Um, I was watching last Saturday, no, Good Friday. I was in my office doing some work. The Holy Week sort of got away from me, and I didn't get all my stuff done in time for Easter. So I was busy working. And I was listening to the background. I had a podcast on Jon Stewart, and he was interviewing or having a conversation with Heather Cox Richardson, who is like my favorite historian. I love listening to her. She's so level-headed, and she talked about a time in her life when she was thinking about what something that had happened or was happening, and she was concerned about how, like, what was the context of things. And she looked back to just before the great crash in Wall Street in the teens, in the 19 teens, I believe it was. And she read the paper for the day before the stock market crash. And she said in it there was articles about the orchestra had opened or something like that in New York, and all the hoity-toity people dressed up going to the opening night. And there was one small article about a man who committed suicide because he realized his business had failed completely, and he thought he was the only loser. And it got her thinking about if he just waited one day, if he had just waited one day and would have realized that he wasn't the only one, things would be different. And she started talking about the importance of paying attention to the context around the things right before the big things happened. Paying attention to the context of what was happening right before what's happening right now. And that helps us then pay attention to the context of today and helps us to then be prepared and take things for what they're actually worth and not panic about things, not worry so much about things, about right now. How can we deal practically with what's happening right now for the best outcome later? And as she was speaking, she and Jon Stewart sort of were like iron sharpening iron. It was incredible listening to them. And at the end, and he was sort of saying, "Thank you so much for helping like this conversation. It's always such a great time to have these conversations." He was saying she's one of his favorite people to interview, to talk to. And he said to her at the end, he said, "You help me organize my anxiety. You help me organize my anxiety." And there was something about that statement was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Because those of you who have been paying attention for a while, you know that I live on post-it notes. Like, I don't have a post-it note wall anymore. Actually, I'm going to show you, I have a binder. This is my binder. So today's Tuesday, the 7th. So here's my post-it notes plus some other things for that's just one page. There's many pages of post notes there to help me remember. And part of my binder, I realize now, is to help me organize my anxiety. My post-it notes equal things that have to happen. Um, they're things I plan to have happen this day. If they're for next week, they're in next week. So I have 31 folders, dividers. So I put it in that data, and I've got 12, like that numbered by, or they're enumerated by the month. So if it's something I know I have to do in July, it goes in the July one, and then in June I look ahead and figure out, okay, when in July does it have to happen, and things like that. It helps me to organize my anxiety. And I thought, I didn't realize that until he said that. And I thought, absolutely. We cannot live in a world without having anxiety, at least not most of us as fairly regularly functioning adults. We all have some kind of anxiety. Now, I've noticed as I get older and wiser, I don't know about that, but anyway, as I get older, I am noticing that not as much causes me anxiety. Some of that's because I know how to organize my anxiety in my post-it note binder. Some of it is recognizing that in the grand scheme of things, is that something worth anxiety? Because if it's something we're anxious about, we're giving it headspace. And it's probably not great headspace. I mean, there are very few things in my life I have been anxious about where that was like happy to be anxious most of the time. Those are things the opposite, I think, of anxiety, which in my mind, a definition of anxiety would be something that we are anticipating negatively. The other thing that we have then, the flip side of that would be positive anticipation. the things we hope for. When I was getting married and we are getting all of our preparations done, and to be quite frank, Rob is more that kind of person than I am. So most of our details about our wedding, he took care of. Like we discussed everything, we agreed on everything, but he was the one who ran with it. I didn't have to do the whole checklist of, the bride to be things. He did that for me. Um, but those are hopes. That wasn't really anxiety. I mean, there were moments that anxiety crept in, but those were moments of most of it was hope. Like I'm excited. This is positive positive anticipation. Things like this, worrying about, am I going to get my church at homes recorded? Am I going to get that letter written? Am I prepared for that meeting? Am I prepared for the gathering of House of Bishops where I need to talk about Council of North? Things like that. That's more anxiety. That's that stuff that's that low, hopefully low grade worry that's in the back of your head. Now, sometimes that keeps you spurred on to do things, um, but sometimes it's just there. We live with it. So the question is, how do we live with it? And when Jon Stewart said to Heather Cox Richardson, "You help me organize my anxiety," I thought, bingo, absolutely. What an incredible phrase. You help me organize my anxiety. We can't escape anxiety. Some people are better at it than others, but the truth is, as functioning adults, we cannot eliminate anxiety from our lives. What we can do is figure out how to organize it and keep it in small, chewable bites that we can swallow when we're done chewing, or we can spit out when we're ready, and move on to the next thing, and not allow ourselves to choke on it, to get overwhelmed by it, to take on too much at once. So, how do you organize your anxiety? Do you have people who help you? Do you have post-it notes? Do you have a system? I'm always looking for systems. Let me know how you organize your anxiety. Or if this is a new thought for you, tell me what you think, because I'd never thought about it that way. Then when Jon Stewart said that to Heather Cox Richardson, as I say her name for like the 18th time, because I really want to encourage people to look up Heather Cox Richardson. She's amazing. Um, but how do you handle your anxiety in a positive way? And if you don't, might be a good idea to figure it out. Have a great day. Organize your anxiety. And as the guy I follow on YouTube says, his Gregisms, find your joy. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.